MMA Rants and Raves, UFC 121, Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. Guys, there's a saying, and that saying is, history usually repeats itself. And it sure did for Brock Lesnar. Let's talk about the fight. The fight begins, Lesnar comes out like a mad dog, beasting Velasquez. I mean, he threw 2 knees, plus a flying knee. It just seemed that Velasquez was just reeling. He recoiled, and he was kind of just throwing him around like a rag doll at the beginning. It just seemed he came out with such momentum. You know, you have a guy moves so quickly and with such power, coming at him, guns a-blazing, and then, you know, shortly after that, about 4:39, Lesnar secures a takedown. So things really started to go as expected for Brock Lesnar, what people expected him to do. But then shortly after, you know, it just took seconds. It just seemed Velasquez was very good on his guard. Lesnar not doing any damage at all. Before he can secure any position, Velasquez was right back to his feet. I mean, such quickness and technique that he used. And if you remember, the last guy that Lesnar faced that was a really good wrestler was Randy Couture. And if you remember that fight, Lesnar was on top of Randy and had even better position, and Randy was able to get up. Now, Randy Couture, of course, is an Olympic caliber, world-class wrestler. Now, Cain Velasquez also is a collegiate wrestler as far as his background. So this is the first time he's faced a guy with that wrestling ability, and it was that wrestling ability that really paid off. It really started to show the way he was able to get back to his feet. He knew what he had to do, the hip escape and the movement, and everything that he had to do to get up, he used. And it just showed in that position right there. So basically when he got up, you know, Lesnar didn't give up. He's very aggressive. He attacks. He knows he has to immobilize this guy. That's his game. That's how he wins his fights. Attacks him, presses him up against the cage. You know, now we're going to see maybe some Roman Greco, right? No. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. He had him pressed up against the cage. I mean, not doing anything. And of course, you know, he was looking for a takedown. But, you know, if you can't get something done, do something else. You're a big, strong guy. Do some damage. I mean, throw some elbows. I mean, you know, maybe some knees. I mean, didn't you listen to what Randy told you? I'm like, you know, Randy Couture uses the cage as a weapon. I mean, he invented the idea of using the cage to immobilize your opponent while you have him pinned there. Do some damage on him. Throw the knees, do the Roman Greco, the elbows, the dirty boxing. I mean, you know, he trained with him, and it just didn't seem he was doing anything. He was always looking for that takedown, and he just couldn't get it. But finally, after all that hard work, over a minute of having him pressed against the cage, finally he gets the takedown, and he just went right back to his feet, jumped right back to his feet like a jackrabbit. So I'm thinking, like, wow, all this energy expended for nothing. The guy just gets back up again. You know, like I said, he's a really good wrestler. Very difficult to take down, obviously. I mean, Lesnar, like, one of the best in the business and the biggest. So, you know, a guy who could secure a takedown better than anybody, on anybody, especially when he has him pinned like that, and he just gets back up again. So that was really something. And then from there, I said, you know what? Lesnar's in trouble, because this guy's posing a huge matchup problem for him. You see Velasquez basically outclassing Lesnar. You know, he was outstriking him there. And I saw something that really shocked me. You saw Cain Velasquez going for a takedown, and he gets it. About 255, gets Lesnar down. He had Lesnar's back, and he starts throwing bombs on him. I mean, really, really big shots and big punches on Lesnar. I mean, and these were precision shots. A lot of them landing, doing damage in the right places. I mean, he wasn't just mindlessly throwing them. I mean, they were landing. And then finally, you know, basically Lesnar gets back to his feet. But when he does, he started to wobble, and he really didn't take that much punishment. You know, as far as being seriously, you know, hurt, well, especially comparable. I mean, to this point in the fight I'm talking about right here, to the Shane Cohen fight, this previous fight, gets back to his feet, starts to wobble, loses his balance, and then just like falls down. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to this guy? You know, he looked more fresh, he looked better in the other fights, cardio-wise, but this guy's exhausted. And after that, that was the beginning of the end for Lesnar. I mean, you know, since that happened, you know, Velasquez, he smelled blood, came right after him, started just pounding him, shot after shot. Lesnar, despite the cardio, heart of a champion, gets back to his feet, but quickly goes down again. Velasquez keeps the assault. And here's another thing that I didn't understand. Although Lesnar's cardio was out, you know, he just covered up, and he was kind of covering his face, protecting himself. You know, you can't do that when you get hit. When you're down, you have to clinch. I mean, just look at the Shields-Kentman fight. When Shields got in trouble later on, you see him clinch. You know, you hold on. This way you can collect yourself, you recover, and then you can fight. But you know, he was just covering up his face most of the time, and he just wasn't grappling. I mean, he wasn't, you know, having a guard. It just seemed that he was against the cage, and he was just basically covering up and waiting for some kind of storm to pass. But, you know, like the announcer said, this is not Shane Cohen. This guy's not going to run out of gas. He's going to keep on going. He has an unlimited motor. And that's what people expected, that part. You know, that he can keep on firing punches. But, you know, his punches were precision. They were hitting on the mark, most of them. And very few of them were blocked. And they were having an effect. You can see, you know, Lesnar was just really banged up. I mean, he was just getting hammered, just really, really smashed up. And eventually, you know, the ref had no choice and had to stop the fight. You know, Lesnar would just not quit. No tapping from Lesnar. I mean, he just kept on going, doing anything he can to stay in the fight. And the ref stopped it. And Velasquez got the victory. Now, I wanted to make a point here, guys. You know, despite some mistakes that I saw, there's one thing that everybody saw, and that was the cardio. It just went out too quickly. And I think it's this weight cut. I mean, he looked very lean coming into this fight. 264. Guys, this is not a 264-pound man. This guy is huge. Lesnar is as wide as a trailer. It's not just a muscle, it's a bone. He's just a very wide guy. He's tall, well over 6 feet tall. I mean, his head, his arms are long. He's just really big. And when you have to cut weight, you dehydrate yourself, it's just too much. And, you know, he just gassed out too quickly. So, you know, this is a factor. You got to understand something. A guy like this, he may walk around at 290 pounds, but be 300 pounds. He's just really big. And he has to cut all this weight. It was a factor in this fight. There's no question about it. You know, as far as the weight cutting, it had to be. Or else maybe he wasn't feeling well or something like that. But he gassed out way too quickly. And it's a problem for a guy like Lesnar. You know, he's one of the few guys that really has to cut weight in the heavyweight division to make this weight. And I'm not talking about being out of condition. He's a very well-conditioned athlete, even close to 300 pounds. And the point is, you know, he is a Division I collegiate wrestler. He's a former NCAA champion, and this is a guy who can go for 25 minutes. All right? And wrestling takes a lot of energy out of you. Why couldn't he do it in this fight? I mean, it was just right in the middle of the first round where he started to get tired. It was, you know, there's something wrong over here. So, I mean, I'm speculating it's a weight cut, or maybe he wasn't feeling well. But if it is, you know, his only choice is to go to a super heavyweight division or something, if they're going to make something like that. And I think the UFC made it clear they're not going to do that. This guy is a super heavyweight. All right? And if this was the factor, well, then that's the reason why this happened. But in any case, the bottom line is, now that we have this result, this really makes this heavyweight division interesting. Because, you know what, guys, if you think about it, Brock Lesnar was always the guy that people said, you know, but who can beat Brock? He's so big and he's so tough. You know, he brings something to the table that we've never seen in history as far as a mixed martial artist in the heavyweight division. He's got the speed, the power, and the size that nobody has. And that's the matchup problem that he poses for everybody. You know, when they say stylistically, some guys cause matchup problems for others. He causes for everybody because nobody has that. He uses the wrestling, you know, to basically dominate and win a fight. He has power and of course, good cardio. You know, in his other fights, he showed a lot of his fights went to a decision. So the bottom line is, if you look at the heavyweight division now, you have a guy like Velasquez, you know, who's not this huge heavyweight. He is a big heavyweight, but there are other guys out there, right, that stylistically would make interesting matchups, especially with his upcoming fight, another monster. I can't wait to see this fight, Junior Dos Santos. And Roy Nelson, who is another victim who tasted his power, you know, fought a great fight. Nelson's a really good fighter, fought a great fight. He said, if either of these guys try to stand up with him, they're going to get knocked out. So, you know, it's really hard to disagree with that. The guy hits so hard. And he's also a guy, you know, getting better with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Got really good takedown defense. That is going to be a really good fight. So anyway, now that this fight happened, heavyweight division is really interesting now, because for a long time, Brock Lesnar's reign as the title holder, people always said, who's going to be Brock Lesnar? I mean, here's a guy, he's so big, he's so strong, and he's like the fastest guy for a man his size. He just poses matchup problems for everybody. There's no stylistically one guy can cause problems for him. There's no such thing as that, because he causes problems for everyone with this very unique thing that he brings to the table and nobody brings. But now we have a champion that's very different, that is very well rounded, has all kinds of different skill sets, and he doesn't bring what Brock brings. Nobody does. But there are guys out there that bring what Velasquez brings. I mean, we have a guy like Fedor, very well rounded, not a huge heavyweight, right? And has a well-rounded game. And of course, Velasquez, how good he is, he's not exactly a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, so there are some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters, which stylistically can make a good matchup with Velasquez. So the heavyweight division now is like really interesting. And then of course, who knows what's going to happen with Brock Lesnar, what's going to happen with his comeback. So the heavyweight division is interesting. And what's really interesting now is the upcoming fight. I mean, my goodness, Junior Dos Santos against Velasquez, can't wait to see that. That is going to be an absolute war. I mean, that is going to be some fight. So, in any case, I'm very impressed with Velasquez. I mean, he is really something. The guy took a real big assault at the beginning of the fight. He has a really good chin. I said Lesnar has a good chin. This guy also has a really good chin. I mean, he just took it, maintained his composure, showed a very well-rounded game, great cardio. His striking, I mean, people said that this guy doesn't hit hard. I mean, this guy is one of the fastest learners in the heavyweight division. I can tell you right now. I mean, people remember that Congo fight. Yeah, he doesn't hit that hard, but then, he has his fight against Minotauro Nogueira. And he just basically flattened one punch, and that's never happened before. So, what a difference a fight makes. And he sure learned. This guy definitely has a lot better striking. I mean, his striking has gotten a lot better. And you saw it in the Nogueira fight. You saw it in this fight. Brock really, really took a lot of damage. Those hands were heavy. They were hitting hard and doing a lot of damage. So, his striking has improved. He's got that great wrestling, which he showed. His takedown defense is good. I mean, he's got good Muay Thai. He is just a real, real good fighter. And there's going to be stylistic type of matchups with him. I mean, this heavyweight division is really getting interesting now, but he's going to be tough. He is really a good fighter. I was just very impressed. I was very impressed with what I saw. It was a really impressive performance. So I'd like to know what you guys think about the future of this heavyweight division. And of course, what you thought about the fight. Please leave your comments below the video, rate this video and subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.